Do you think you are not good enough? Do you think that you are not worthy of happiness, success, and fulfilling relationships? Do you always view yourself in a negative light and you amplify your weaknesses and completely ignore your strength and your skills and all the good stuff about you? Do you lack confidence? Do you avoid social situations because you think you wouldn't know how to act in those social situations? Do you stop yourself from pursuing your goals because you think you wouldn't be able to achieve those goals anyways, even if you try? Now, if all the things I've mentioned are constant thoughts in your head, if you keep telling yourself these things, this is a sign that you suffer from low self-esteem. And that's a serious issue. Now, I've been interested in self-esteem for a long time, many years ago, and I read a lot of books and articles, and I tried to enhance, or should I say, improve my self-esteem, because like I said, it's an important thing. And I have to say there is one book that I read that I found that stood out from all the other stuff that I've read and consumed over the years. And that is a book by Nathaniel Branden. Now, Nathaniel Branden was a psychologist, and he was also an associate of my aunt, Ayn Rand, the founder of the objectivist philosophy. Now, I'm no objectivist, but I'm just telling you to put Nathaniel Branden in context. So the book is called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and I think it's the best book on the subject. Now, before we get into the book, before we get into the key concepts of the book, because this video is going to be a summary of the key concepts of the 6 pillars of self-esteem. Now, of course, you can read the book if you want to, but this video is all you need to understand the key concepts of the book. So before we get into them, let's look at the definition of self-esteem. What is self-esteem in the first place? What do we mean when we say self-esteem? Now, I would like to read you Nathaniel Branden's definition because I don't want to butcher it, so I'm going to read this for you. So, Nathaniel Branden defines self-esteem as follows. So he says that self-esteem is confidence in our ability to think, confidence in our ability to cope with the basic challenges of life, and confidence in our right to be successful and happy, the feeling of being worthy, deserving, entitled to assert our needs and wants, achieve our values, and enjoy the fruits of our efforts. So basically, if you think about it, the essence of self-esteem is the belief that we deserve success, we deserve happiness, and that we have what it takes to actually achieve success and happiness. That's pretty much it. That's my condensed definition of self-esteem. That's the essence of what it means. And if you think about it, the power of this conviction, the power of self-esteem, is that it's not just an idea that you think about in the morning or before you go to bed. Self-esteem is not something that it's not an abstract thing, because it actually influences your behavior. It works as a motivator. It might ignite action. It might makes you want to do something or not do anything when you have low self-esteem. And the funny thing is that there is a relation between your behavior and your level of self-esteem. So causation goes in both ways if you think about it. So if you have low self-esteem, you are going to behave in ways that are not beneficial to you. And if you have high self-esteem, you are going to behave in ways that are beneficial to you. And vice versa. If you behave in ways that are not beneficial to you, you are going to undermine your self-esteem and you are going to lower it. So there is a connection between the two. That's why it's important to work on it. Self-esteem, if you think about it, is like a software. So the software does affect the hardware. How you think about yourself is going to affect how you act in the real world. And the thing about self-esteem is that if you have low self-esteem, you start to engage in self-sabotage. Now, I did a video before on self-sabotage. It's a quick video, less than 2 minutes. You can watch it here. And basically, self-sabotage is you are trying to sabotage yourself. So when you have low self-esteem, when you don't believe that you deserve happiness, and when you don't believe that you have what it takes to actually achieve your goals, then you start to undermine yourself, even if you have the perfect conditions to actually achieve your goals and be happy. And one of the examples that Nathaniel Branden talks about in the book is that, for example, someone works at a company and he gets promoted, but he has low self-esteem and he suffers from the imposter syndrome. So he thinks he doesn't have what it takes for that promotion. And so once he gets the job, he starts to undermine himself. So he doesn't go on time. He doesn't treat his subordinates well. He doesn't do his job well anymore. So he engages in behavior that sabotages his own success, and eventually he gets fired. Which is why another thing that Nathaniel Branden mentions in the book is that self-esteem tends to be a generator of self-fulfilling prophecies. This is so great. This is one of the great lines in the book. I'll say it again. Self-esteem tends to be a generator of self-fulfilling prophecies. In other words, it's like the old cliche of whether you believe you are going to succeed or not, you are right. So whether you believe you are worthy of happiness or not, you are right. That belief is going to affect how you behave in the real world. And that's why self-esteem is important, and that's why you need to work on your self-esteem. Which is why I decided to do this video on this book that talks about 6 pillars of self-esteem. And we're going to start with the first one, which is the practice of living consciously. Now notice, he didn't say living consciously, no. He said the practice of living consciously. In other words, this is not something that you think about. This is not just an abstract experiment, no. It's something that you have to constantly do on a daily basis. Now, what is the practice of living consciously? Well, each day we have plenty of choices and we make plenty of decisions. Now think about it. When you have those choices and when you make those decisions, do you actually make them consciously or are you on autopilot? Think about it. Do you choose to think consciously about what you want to do during your day, or are you just, functioning like a robot? So let's take an example. You wake up, you know that you shouldn't be eating sugar for breakfast, but you are used to it, so you just go without thinking and you eat sugar. I don't mean sugar literally. I mean maybe you eat some donuts or whatever. So when you eat that, are you conscious about it, or do you just do it and that's it? You know it's not good for you, but you keep doing it anyway. So are you living consciously? Do you take what you have for granted? If you have a job, if you have a roof over your head, if you have food, do you take these things for granted? Or are you conscious of the fact that you have things that other people do not have, and you are grateful for that? So this is what living consciously means. You have to be conscious about your decisions. You have to be conscious about your choices. You have to be conscious about the things that you have. Otherwise, you are just, floating aimlessly in life. Directionless, aimless. You are just going. You just, with a blindfold on, you just go on autopilot. So the practice of living consciously is the first pillar of the 6 pillars of self-esteem. You need to choose to live consciously. You need to choose to think about the decisions you make. Now, the second pillar of self-esteem is called the practice of self-acceptance. Now, what is the practice of self-acceptance? Well, think about every emotion, every behavior, or perhaps even something that is out of your control, like your body. All the things that you don't like about yourself, how you feel in certain situations, how you behave in certain situations, how your body looks. All the things that you do not like. First of all, you have to acknowledge that they exist and that they are part of you. And you have to accept the fact that that's you. So basically, you accept reality. You don't deny things. You don't deny that maybe you get angry easily. You should accept it. Because once you accept these things, then you can start to improve them, or you can stop dwelling on them if you can't change them. For example, when it comes to your body, if you are in a certain way, if you are a bald man and you can't have hair, then you must accept it and move on. So you don't have to dwell on it. So self-acceptance means that you do not ignore reality. You do not ignore the facts about yourself. You do not ignore your emotions. You do not ignore your behaviors. You do not ignore what falls outside of your control. You accept it. And then if you can improve it, you should improve it. If you can't, you just accept it and move on. And this is also called the practice of self-acceptance. In other words, it's a daily practice. You have to practice it on a consistent basis. Whenever you feel a certain emotion that you don't like, accept it. And then you will have, you will have enough consciousness to behave in the way that you want to behave rather than how you usually react. So the practice of self-acceptance is the second pillar of self-esteem. The third one is called the practice of self-responsibility. And this is really important. Basically, the practice of self-responsibility is you take responsibility over your life. Nobody's going to come and save you. Nobody's going to achieve your goals. Nobody's going to help you become what you want to be. Nobody's going to take responsibility over your own fuck-ups. So if you fuck up, you have to take responsibility that you fucked up. If you want to achieve something, you have to know that you are the only one responsible for your own happiness. You are the only one responsible for putting a plan and taking action to actually achieve your own goals and values. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody's going to wake up one day and think about your values and your goals and come and help you achieve them. Nobody's going to do that. And the practice of self-responsibility also says that if you want to achieve a certain goal, but you need the help of other people, it's your responsibility to convince them to cooperate with you. In other words, you shouldn't be a victim. You shouldn't have a victim mentality. You shouldn't say, oh, they didn't do this to me. They didn't help me. You should always take responsibility over your actions. You should always take responsibility over your dreams and aspirations, and take action to achieve your own goals, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So the practice of self-responsibility means that you are a self-responsible individual, and you take action to achieve your own goals and values. You accept the responsibility when you fuck up. You don't deny it. And you are not someone who is, wallowing in victimhood and playing the victim all the time. You will never be able to achieve anything if you have a victim mindset, if you think like a victim. No, you have to take responsibility over your life. So that's the third pillar of self-esteem. The fourth one, the practice of self-assertiveness. Now, what is the practice of self-assertiveness? It's basically honoring your own desires, your own needs, your own wants, and you express those desires in an assertive manner. So the practice of self-assertiveness requires self-expression. If you want something, if you desire something, you have to express your needs and wants so other people will understand you, and you have to express it in an assertive way. You do not beg people. You do not talk in, basically you do not beg people. When you express your needs and wants, you express them in an assertive manner. And self-expression takes different forms depending on the context. For example, the way with which you express yourself with your wife is different from the way you express yourself with your boss, or the way you express yourself in the workplace. So many people like to say that maybe you will sacrifice your authenticity if you are rigid, because a lot of people think about self-assertiveness in a rigid manner. They think that you have to express yourself in the same way everywhere. No, that's not how it works. You have to adapt to reality. You have to adapt to the context. You have to adapt to where you are and whom you are dealing with. The way with which I express myself on videos is not the same way that I express myself at work or with friends or with my parents. It's different, but it's me. I'm still authentic to myself. So yeah, the practice of self-assertiveness means that you honor your needs and desires and wants, and you express them. And you express them in an assertive manner. And that self-expression takes different forms. You can't have only one form of self-expression. No, that doesn't exist. You have to adapt to your environment. So yeah, self-assertiveness is the fourth pillar of self-esteem. The fifth pillar of self-esteem is called the practice, again, of living purposely. The practice of living purposely is so important because if you do not have a purpose, if you don't know what you want to do in life, then you're going to be aimless. You're going to be directionless. You wouldn't know. You're going to waste your time. So you have to know, you have to understand your own needs and desires, and you have to set goals for yourself, and you have to work and put an action plan to achieve those goals and values. You have to live for some kind of purpose. You can't just live purposeless. You can't. You need to have your own purpose. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you are lost. I mean, I've been through a phase where I was completely lost because when I realized that I couldn't achieve a certain goal. At one point, when I was completely convinced at that time, and I stopped working towards that goal, I became purposeless and I became aimless, and I didn't know what to do with my days. I was just, doing different things every day, and it was, it was the worst. Well, it was one of the worst phases of my life. And before that, when I had a purpose, I was always happy. I was always energized. I always had the motivation to get up in the morning and to work towards achieving my goal and to improve myself in every area that I need in order to achieve that goal. So purpose is like a fuel. It fuels your existence. If you don't have a purpose, you're gonna feel unmotivated. You're gonna lose your zest for life. You're gonna lose your desire to get up in the morning and do something. So the practice of living purposely means you have to decide on a purpose because nobody else is going to decide it for you. You have to decide what your purpose in life is, and you have to work towards that purpose and towards achieving the values that you believe in that are going to help you reach that purpose. So that's the practice of living purposely. And the last one is called the practice of personal integrity. Now, the practice of personal integrity means, what is integrity? Now, each and every single one of us have certain values, certain convictions that we believe in. And like I said in my previous video about nice guys, if you have a conviction or a belief and someone asks you to do something that goes against that conviction and belief and you do it, you're going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to lose face with yourself and you are not going to feel good. And that undermines and lowers your self-esteem. So the practice of living with personal integrity means that your behaviors and your actions should align with your values and convictions. You shouldn't do things that go against what you believe in, that go against your convictions. Never. If you give up on your personal integrity, you are going to feel like shit. Absolutely. Guaranteed. You're not only going to feel like shit, you are going to lose respect for yourself. And I did a video about this a long time ago. It's called Self-Respect. So you can watch it here. So the practice of living with personal integrity means that your values and convictions align with your behavior and your action. If they do not align, if you do something, if you betray your own convictions, if you betray your own values, you betray yourself. And how can you have high self-esteem when you betray your own self? How can you feel good about yourself when you betray yourself? Of course you can't. Of course you can't. So the practice of living with personal integrity entails that you have to be strict with yourself and you have to be good to yourself, and you shouldn't do something that does not align with your convictions and with your values. So yeah, these are the 6 pillars of self-esteem: the practice of living consciously, the practice of self-acceptance, the practice of self-responsibility, the practice of self-assertiveness, the practice of living purposely, and the practice of personal integrity. You should practice all of these pillars on a daily basis. You should always live consciously. Think about your decisions. Think about your choices. Think about the things you have in a conscious way. Accept your flaws. Accept what you can't change about yourself. Take responsibility over yourself and your actions and what you want in life. Have a purpose in life. Set a purpose for yourself and work to achieve it. Have personal integrity. Do not do things that go against your own values and convictions. Once you practice all these things, once you keep doing all these things and you stay true to them, you are going to elevate your self-esteem. And by extension, your behavior is going to change. The way with which you view yourself is going to change how you act in the real world. And that will affect your results in the real world. And you're going to start to attract more success, happiness, and fulfilling relationships. Now, these are the key concepts of the book. Of course, if you want to read the book, you should go ahead and read it. And I would recommend that you read it, because in the book, he also offers exercises, so affirmations that you write. So for example, he says, if I want to live purposely, what can I improve? How can I improve 5% of something? How can I do 5% of something? So that's a really good exercise you can do. It helps you, it helps you put all these thoughts into the real world, on paper or on your phone or on your laptop, it doesn't matter. So The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem is a great book. Go and read it. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know what you think in the comments below. And see you in the next video.